If you are interested in profit crafting, you don't have a lot of currency to begin with, or you just like the idea of being a hideout warrior in general, I suggest you that you learn to do cluster juice crafting, because when doing any type of hideout warrior strats, you are going to run into a problem, which is going to be not being able to maintain a strategy for hours and hours on end. If you're flipping, at some point you are just going to have to give the market a chance to reset. If you're crafting, most likely you're either going to burn through lots and lots of currency, so you will no longer have any divines to buy materials, or you're going to be limited by the availability of the bases on the market. But with cluster jewels in general, this is not an issue. There are a few cluster jewels crafts that are reliant on buying bases, and they cannot be sustained for hours and hours on end. But the the opposite is true as well. There are some cluster juice crafts that you can do literally for 10 hours a day. You're probably going to spend like 5 to 6 divines an hour crafting, and the profit would be about 15 to 30 divines per hour. And you can do this till the end of the league. It's going to work. I'm not going to reveal which dose of 1 hour. You have to do the research yourself. I'm just going to show you how I would do it. So when you go to Craft of Exile in general, to find good cluster juice to craft, you're going to use affinities. And here you can select the cluster jewel. The method that I'm going to show you is going to involve spamming alterations. Obviously, there are different crafting methods for different cluster jewels, but the most important one that you need to learn, which is not dependent on a jewel, it's can apply to most crafts, is going to be spamming alterations, especially this league when they are so cheap. You go to affinities, you select cluster jewels, and these are the most popular cluster jewels that are used. For example, let's just take the chaos damage. We can see that the most popular notable is going to be Unholy Grace. When you are using the trade website to price check, you don't search for any combinations of possible notables on the suffix, because you can see that the most popular one is just Unholy Grace. Then for the prefixes, you can see that Touch of Cruelty, Unwavering Evil, Dark Ideation, Unwaveringly Evil, and Wicked Pole are the most popular ones. So we are only going to look into these ones. Now I know that this craft is not profitable, but there are other crafting methods that are profitable and can be crafted with this method. This is just going to be an example of how to actually craft. So what I would do, I would open Craft of Exile, and then I would select cluster jewels, and I look at this cluster jewel with chaos damage. When you are going to figure out if a crafting method is profitable, try to look at the item level. Maybe there are some item level restrictions that are going to be beneficial. So for example, this Wicked Pole and Unwaveringly Evil, they are both below level 50 or 50, and Unholy Grace it's level 1. So maybe if you look at the cluster jewel that has level 50 or below, this is much easier to hit. Because if you look at alterations, it's much easier to get either one of these with Unholy Grace than if the item level was higher. But the issue with this method, it's going to be doable only in the beginning of the league, because after that the bases are not on the market, and you cannot sustain it. I'm talking about item level 83 cluster jewels in general that can be crafted with alterations. Now let's show you how I would calculate if a cluster jewel is profitable to make. So here, after I check the prices um, of either two of these four notables together with Unholy Grace, after I check it on the trade website, I write down the numbers. I figure out the crafting process, what it requires. So for example, I would say most cluster jewels will be item level 83. And I'm going to pay probably 20-30 kills. I would say touch of cruelty, unwaveringly evil, wicked pole, and dark ideation. These are the four most important notables, and we only care about unholy grace. Now let's see what chance do I have to roll either one of these prefixes with alterations only. So you go to orb of alteration, and for the method you select none. So you can see that 1 in 8 tries it's going to give me either dark ideation, touch of cruelty, and unwaveringly evil or wicked pole. Whenever it gives me one of these, I'm going to use an augmentation orb. Now you have to calculate it um, separately like this, because they have different weightings. So let's just say for dark ideation, um, 1 out of 110 dark ideation. For touch of cruelty, it's 1 in 21. For unwaveringly evil, it's 1 in 21. And for wicked pole, it's 1 in 41. So roughly for 120 alterations, let's just say, it's going to give me 1 dark ideation, 4 touch of cruelty, 4 unwaverings, and 3 wicked pole. No, what the fuck was I doing? 6. Like this. So I would calculate. Now, what's the chance of actually using a regal? So for example, if and also let's just say let's select unholy grace since we are using alterations here. 1 in 230, it's going to be a 2 notable. Two notables with unholy grace. Now let's see the chance of actually using a regal orb. We select an exalted orb right here, and usually let's just see that if I have wicked and have unwaveringly evil, and I have unholy grace, for example, what's the chance of me giving oh no, I don't want unholy grace, I want something else, I want dexterity, for example. So what's the chance of me giving dark ideation, unholy grace, and touch of cruelty? So you can see that it's a 1 in 13. Now obviously it's going to differ. Dark ideation is going to be much harder to hit, touch of cruelty much easier to hit, and wicked pole it's so. Unholy grace it's easy. For regals this doesn't really matter, to be honest, if you are just looking to get a 2 notable cluster jewel. So you can say that 1 in 13, so 13 regals, 13 scours to make a 2 notable cluster. And then here's where it's important. you look at the weightings. For Regals, they are so cheap, it really doesn't matter if you, it's hard to hit Dark Ideation or Touch of Cruelty or Wicked Ball. But for Exalted Orbs, obviously you have to know the price of the jewel, how expensive that is. What's the sell price if you can afford using Exalted Orbs. But in general, if your cluster jewel has, let's just say, Unholy Grace like this, and since you have used a Regal previously, you are only going to use an Exalted Orb if it's possible for you to hit the third notable, which is going to require either an empty prefix or an empty suffix if you're looking for Unholy Grace. So you can see that if you're using an Exalted Orb, here you calculate which are the valuable ones. So for example, if Unwavering Evil, it's not worth with Touch of Cruelty and Dark Ideation, but it's worth with Wicked Ball, it's 1 in 27. So 1 in 27, and you do this for all the other good combinations, so that you know for which combination you're going to use an Exalted Orb. For example, I would not use an Exalted Orb to hit, I mean, for this cluster jewels, I will not craft it this way because it's not profitable. But for other cluster jewels, I would not try to hit one with a weight of 250. But for one with 519, I would try to use an Exalted Orb because it's so cheap. Once again, you have to do the research yourself and find which are those good cluster jewels. But trust me, there are a few clusters. You can buy them at level 83, and they can you can make about 15 to 30 divines an hour quite easily. So now you do all this math right here. You calculate. You let's just say that you spam 5,000 alterations or 4,000 alterations per hour, and then you calculate how many divines you spend in alterations. You calculate how many two notables you're going to make, assuming that 50% of those two notables are going to be exaltable. I'm just giving you an example. Maybe it's less than uh, one half of those, and then you do the math. Yeah, I'm not going to do it right now because it's going to take some time, but you get the idea. You do the math right here, and now I'm going to show you how to actually find regexes. So what is a regex? Um, let's show you here. So basically, if you type in the search bar and you type it between the quotation marks, here you can type, for example, if I want to highlight chaos, if I type ch, it's going to highlight chaos orb because it has ch in it. But if I type um, oso, here it highlights again, and it also highlights the Welt Chaos Orb and Chaos Shard. If I type OSS, it's going to highlight only the Chaos Shard. So I want Unwaveringly Evil. I can type GLA, and if you want to make sure, you just hit Ctrl F in your browser and type GLA, and you can see that it appears only once. So if I search here, and I would alteration spam a cluster jewel, with chaos implicit, it will highlight whenever it hits Unwaveringly Evil. Then if I want to search for something else, I would type this line right here. This is above, enter. Uh, and now I would type, for example, for Wicked Ball. You can type Wicked Ball if you want, but if you are searching for multiple notables, you are going to make it. You are going to want the search to have as little characters as possible because you cannot write an entire page on your search window. So for example, EDPA, all like this will only highlight wicket ball. So I can type this. Um, then for touch of cruelty, this will highlight touch of cruelty, and this will highlight unholy grace. And for dark ideation, let's see KI. So KI will only highlight dark ideation. So this is your regex. Let's see if I have a cluster jewels, chaos cluster jewel. So I have one right here, and look, if I type the regex right here, it will highlight because it also has unwaveringly evil. Now the way you would craft these, you would buy a few of them, like 20, 30, 40, and then you spam alteration. You'd put it into a tab. You would grab a bunch of alterations. I don't have regals. I have a few scours. You would use orb of augmentations and transmutes, and also some exalted orbs. And you do the calculations if it's worth using orb of annulments. For the purpose of this video, I'm just going to spam a few alterations to show you, but in general, you want to have 20, 30 cluster jewels. Sometimes it's going to only give you a passive, and when it gives you a passive, you're going to use an orb of augmentation. Sometimes it's going to give you unholy grace with another notable that is not useful, or it's going to give you a prefix. So that means you can no longer have 3 notables if it gives you a prefix like this. If that happens and your item is highlighted, let me show you. I'm not sure if I can explain it well, but let's just say that your item it looks like this. It's highlighted, and you have a bunch of these, and you want to scour the rare ones. You have like 10 of these that are magic, and you don't want to have to look at them all the time so that you know what you rolled over. So you can type rare, and the cluster jewels that don't have, so for, I'm not sure if I can explain it. So imagine that both of these had unwaveringly evil, but one, it was not worth regaling it, and I want to use an alteration on it to remove the modifier, but I don't have to want to look at it. I would just type rare, so I know that these ones are rare because I've already used a regal on them. Then I would use an alteration orb on every jewel that is not highlighted, and then I would just scour the rare ones. Then I would type the regex again, and then I would use transmutation on all the jewels, and then whatever cluster jewel is highlighted by this regex, it means it has new modifiers. Let me show you if I can. I'm not sure if you understood what I'm trying to say here. I don't have a bunch of cluster jewels that to show you to exemplify you right now, but I'm just trying to make it clear. I know what I'm talking about because I've done this a lot, but in general, let's just imagine this this jewel right here has unholy grace and a prefix, and when I'm typing this regex, it's highlighted by default. And if I type rare, after I went through, after I used regals on the cluster jewels, and I sorted out what jewels are not worth using a regal on them, even though they are highlighted by my regex. I'm just typing rare, and then I'm just using alterations, and then uh, I'm using scours on those that are still highlighted as rare, and then I'm just starting again with transmutes and alteration spamming once again, and then augmentation, regal, exalted orb if necessary, orb of annulment. I hope I made myself clear. This is the method that I do. Trust me, you can make about 20-30 divines per hour quite consistently, and then you would have to sort these jewels in some tabs, some dump tabs. So let's just say that a wicked pole and unwaveringly evil and unholy grace are the most profitable ones to sell. What do you do if you have unwaveringly evil with a touch of cruelty and unholy grace? Well, if it's not worth price checking it, I would just dump it into a stash tab. When you are crafting the proper cluster jewels, most of the investment that you spent in buying crafting materials will be paid by cluster jewels that have two good notables and a third random notable. If, for example, they are worth price checking it, then once again learn the price checks of the most important crafts. But in general, just dump them into a stash tab that has, I don't know, one divine, two divines, things like that, and then you lower the price. A day goes by, you lower the price. Another day goes by, you lower the price once again. If not, just reuse the bases for crafting. Also, pay attention to what suffix they have. The most important one being chaos resistance. Some cluster jewels I would sell them for like 8 divines, and then because they had chaos resistance, I would sell them for like 12 to 13 divines, just by having the lowest tower of chaos resistance. Anyway, I'm not sure if you understood without me exemplifying, giving a live demonstration, but I don't want to do that because I don't want to uh, spoil the uh, crafting methods, the profitable crafts. But this is the exact same method that I'm using. It's consistently bringing me about 20 to 30 divines per hour. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it.